Hello and welcome to our virtual rhinoplasty meetings. My name is Dr Cameron McIntosh and I'm the president of SORSSA, or the Society of Rhinoplasty Surgeons of South Africa. So during the coronavirus lockdown period, we decided to have bi-weekly Zoom meetings. We specifically chose teachers from around the world to be able to cover many topics. Unfortunately, due to patient confidentiality, we can't actually show you the real talks. However, the very interesting interactive question and answer sessions is what we're going to be showing you. We want to give a shout out to our colleagues around the world fighting coronavirus. Please look after yourselves and be safe. So I'm not going to say anything more. Enjoy the show. In episode 18, Dr. Vitaly Zholtikov gives us a great lecture on sequentially managing the Bony vault.
Here we go. Hey, that was fantastic. Hey, thank you very, very much. Vitaly, I'm like looking at your osteotomies and all I can see is these beautiful nasal tips.
Yeah, I like tip also. I like rhinoplasty, it's my passion.
It's great, man. Wow. So do you want to stop sharing your screen? And then we had a little bit of problem with YouTube to try and stream it. I was wondering if there's some Russian hackers that are stopping the YouTube, but we got it eventually.
I don't think so.
And we've got many questions and lots of people have been saying thank you very much. Lysandra even sent us a little video where he's busy watching Barish and you on 2 webinars at the same time. Eh? Anyway, let me jump into some of the questions here. So Adele would like to know, how do you avoid rhino sculpture destructs or damages the nasal bone?
You mean you should control everything? I mean, it's there are some very important issue. You should see the thickness of the bone, very easy to control. Before every surgery, I ask patient to bring CT scan. You can check the thickness of the bone before surgery, and you can plan the thickness removal. You can plan how much you should remove on each side. You can plan how much is dangerous, how much is possible, and also during the surgery. It's very easy to control because when you remove a lot, you can see how change the color of the bone. If you see the red color, it's like red flag. You should stop your rhino sculpture and you prevent any holes in the bone. You avoid that.
Okay, awesome. Okay, I have a question here from Mehmet. They would like to know that after the bone sculpture and then when there's bone regeneration, do any irregularities come back?
No, never. For my experience from December 2016, it's close to 4 years, I didn't see any irregularities come back. I mean, but after my previous experience, then I did use traditional osteotomies. I got a lot of irregularities after osteotomies. Why? Because when I broke the bones in different positions, is absolutely absence of control. I got step deformity. I got irregularities in the upper part of bony pyramid. I got irregularities on the top of the dorsum. After hump removal, I got a lot of irregularities. But now it's like something unusual. I didn't see any.
Okay, well, that's interesting because they're 2 very interesting questions now. So Irina and Ali want to know in terms of how much can you actually take off? When does it become too thin? And secondly, what landmarks do you use for sculpting?
As I mentioned before, I plan this CT scan. I like to use cone beam, and cone beam gives possibility to check the thickness of the bone before. And usually I try to leave minimum 1 to 2 millimeter thickness of the bone. Because if you imagine how thick the bone in the base of the bone, and it's like between 4 and 5 millimeter thickness in the base, lower than nasofascial groove. In this area, you can really remove 2 millimeter or 2.5 millimeter easily from the both sides. Can you imagine if you plus 2.5 millimeter to 2.5 millimeter, it can be narrow for 5 millimeters. 5 millimeters is quite big amount of narrowing. First. Second one, as I mentioned before, the limit is changing the color of the bone. When you see that the bone change the color from white to red, you should stop, because when bone is going to be very thin, it looks not white, it looks red.
Okay. Great. That's great. Okay. A question here is, when you do use fascia, what fascia is it, and how do you stabilize it along the whole length of the dorsum?
I just upload the article in Aesthetic Surgery Journal. We did it together with Roland Daniel about my approach to fascia, because I have my own approach about that. I like to use narrow fascia graft. Narrow fascia I put on the top of the bony dorsum. It creates really straight and narrow dorsal aesthetic lines on the top, like top of the pyramid. And I fix it these minimum 10 sutures to the upper laterals, along the upper laterals, from the key point to the lower laterals, and true skin sutures to the radix, in the radix area. It means it should be minimum 12 not sutures. It's absolutely predictable, and for last 4 years we didn't get any malposition of this graft because of very precise fixation of this graft of the top, on the top of the dorsum.
Very interesting.
I like to use for that purpose in primary cases temporalis fascia. In secondary cases, I like to use rectus abdominis fascia, as Nazim invented, because it's useful when we harvest the rib grafts. Is useful. We don't need to cut the skin somewhere.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Eric wants to know, relative to your mid-vault, your tip, and your deviated septum surgery, when do you do the bony vault surgery?
I usually start this bony vault surgery, but if I need to perform osteotomies, I perform osteotomies after mid-vault surgery. But always I perform rhinosculpture in the beginning, then I perform mid-vault surgery, and if necessary, I can check everything. If necessary, I perform osteotomies.
Awesome. Okay, a question from Adaledu. What is the name of the instrument that you use for rhinosculpture?
It is piezo. It is piezo from French company, Action.
Yes.
There are different piezo tips, like scraper, rasps, or saw, straight saw, angulated saw. Olivier invent this using the piezo for rhinosculpture. Olivier Gerbeau is very famous in this area.
Yeah.
I think everybody knows him. Yeah. And also he already presented his talk about.
Yeah, he did a great talk for us. It was really cool. So Felipe would like to know, how do you manage post-op edema after a full open approach?
Actually, I don't get a lot of problem with edema because I always use steroid strips as a garment after surgery for 10 days. And I like to put the cast for 10 days also. But if I see quite visible edema in area of lateral bony walls, I perform steroid injections. 3 weeks after first time, 1 month and half till 2 months second time, and maybe third time
I'm not sure if it's slow on that side. A question I've got here, if you can hear me, from Ali. He says, can you explain the sequence of the osteotomies, and do you use splints?
The sequence of osteotomy, I start this rhino sculpture for side, and I didn't see in my practice really symmetrical bony pyramid. I remove small irregularities, remove the convexities and concavities on the both sides, and then, if it is necessary, I perform hump removal, bony cup removal, and then, if it is necessary, I perform lower lateral osteotomies and incomplete transverse osteotomies. Then, if it is necessary, I perform paramedial or medial oblique osteotomies, but I always keep intact bony bridge between medial and transverse osteotomies. I don't complete transverse osteotomy. But in severe deviated noses, I use another algorithm. In severe deviated noses, I always perform asymmetric osteotomies. Idea is to move outward one side and move inward another side. Because of that, I perform different type of osteotomies, but I try always keep intact the bony bridges. It can be on one side, it can be bridge in the lower part of the bony pyramid, in the upper lower part of the bony pyramid, for example. In other part, it can be in upper part of bony pyramid. It depends on, because asymmetry means you should have personal approach. You should have individual approach. It's not like when you have severe asymmetry, it's not like algorithm for everybody. It should be different algorithm for different type of deviation, for different type of bony pyramid.
Okay, Toon is still up there at 2 minutes past 3 in Perth, Australia. He'd like to know, and there was 2 questions about steroid use in rhinoplasty. What dosages, what do you use, how long, etc.?
Yeah, I use Kenalog, and I like to dilute it 1-to-1 this lidocaine, for example, because it's not so painful, and I use 1 milliliter of that, and I try to inject Kenalog as much as possible deep, close to the bones, because if edema caused by bones surgery, you should fix edema close to the bones area. And I start to use 3 weeks after surgery, and then I can repeat it after 3 weeks, maybe 3 times, not often. I don't need usually to do it very often. Maybe in 10% of my cases I use it, but I don't see really a lot of problems. I mean, this swelling after that type of surgery.
Awesome. So Vitaly, you've given us an hour of intense stuff here. I want to, because some of the questions have slowed down now. So what I want to ask you is, I want to ask you one last question, then I'm going to put a few slides up of my own. My question is to you, so we've had well over 300 people tonight from all around the world. There's some of the world's masters are on, and there's people who are only just wanting to learn about rhinoplasty. What would you say are your top 3 tips for rhinoplasty people who are listening to this talk?
I think it is, these are your usual questions for all speakers, and
I don't have to ask
I think most of them I think most of them have the similar answers. We should learn on our own problems, on our own mistakes. I think it's one of the main tips. You should analyze as much as possible your own results, because it's easy to see good pictures of somebody, but when you can see your own problem, and you should understand why it happened. And if you fix all your problem. You can, if you can understand it, you can fix it. During your surgery, during preparation of the patient, you should analyze as much as possible what do you need to perform, what type of problem have this exact patient, and as much as possible you should predict what can happen in the future. I think if you think about that, if you learn on your own problems, you can improve your own technique and you can improve your own results. I think rhinoplasty is something about your own control during the surgery,
Yes.
before the surgery, and after the surgery. It's like 3 main tips: before, during, and after.
That's great, eh? Sure. Toon, you sitting there in Perth, and I never got to ask you the same question. So I want to see if I can unmute you, and let's see how we can do that. And we want you to answer the same question and tell us what are your top three tips for rhinoplasty, eh?
Well,
here we go. We're listening.
Thanks very much. I think the first is to learn as much as possible. I think, it's a long journey for me anyway. So for 20 years to learn, every time it's amazing. You can learn of everybody, either small point. So learn as much as possible. And the second, like most people said, your own mistake, you are the master and the learner of your own things. So I think, despite what you learn 20 years, the end of the line is what you're going to do, what do you control. And the third thing I remember most people of is the most complication is straight after any meeting. So never the person to try of new stuff, but never the last. So I think you should try a little bit, absorb what you learn, and try a little bit at a time, because there's no way you can just change the whole philosophy just because you see some great, which is very great, which is not suiting your hand. So learn as much as possible, analyze your own mistake. And I think if you incorporate something, do slowly, personalize it, customize it to your patient, because everyone's different. Every demographic is different. So you can't just apply one technique to everything. So that's my personal opinion.
Well, thank you. Thank
I'm
you
still
very much.
learning.
It's amazing. So Vitaly, I just really want to say thank you so much from a SORSSA side of things. It's fantastic that we could have you as our final speaker after these 18 meetings. And I greatly appreciate your time and your effort. Eh? So we're gonna give you a little hand clap from all around the world. And I'm gonna straight away just share what's a few quite exciting things that we want to share with you guys as from a SORSSA perspective. Amir, can you get me on to be able to share my screen there? Hey?
Sure.
So this is going to take just a few minutes. Okay, there we go. Cool. Thank you. So where am I here? There we go. Okay. So I just want to go over 5 points quickly. Firstly, about membership. So we're absolutely delighted by how many people have joined SORSSA. You'll see that we've got now 3 WhatsApp groups with well over 600 people on just the WhatsApp groups. We've got emails, etc., going around as well. I would like to remind the South African, there are really 3 types of membership at the moment. It's South African members, it's honorary members, and those are only to our invited speakers over the last few years. And then there's corresponding international members, and those are our colleagues who've taken the time to fill in all the forms. So the membership's going to have a direct reflection over the next couple of days on our WhatsApp groups. It's going to change quite dramatically. We're basically going to be having one section which is for the South African paid up members, our honorary members, our corresponding members. And then because it's been in a way quite laid back over the last couple of weeks, people have been on our groups but haven't necessarily been members of SORSSA. So those groups are going to be used for notifications. I want to remind you, please, that we do have quite strict terms and conditions on the groups. I do post those on every couple of days, just to remind people about that. So be aware we're going to be changing some things in the WhatsApp groups. Then we're very excited to be able to say that we're going to actually carry on. We're going to carry on slightly differently. We're going to be doing the last Sunday of every month. And this coming Sunday, with Holger's meeting happening, we're actually moving our Sunday afternoon a little bit earlier than normal. We normally would continue at 8 o'clock at night, as we are now, but we're actually coming in at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm going to show you that schedule just now. Then there is also the excitement of our Congress next year in Port Elizabeth. And finally, the World Rhinoplasty Day. So let me just first show you what our next sessions are going to be. So this coming Sunday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we've got Prof. Peter Adamson all the way from Canada speaking to us about rhinoplasty, a view from the top. There's some very interesting things that he's going to be giving on the talk. Prof. Adamson is a renowned public speaker, and I really would encourage you to try and log in for this talk at 4 o'clock. And then we're moving over to our latest PhD, Dr. Filio, who's going to be speaking at the end of June. And you'll see this carries on right until the World Rhinoplasty Day. I want to just touch base on our Congress that we're going to be having next year. It's from the 22nd to the 25th of July in Port Elizabeth. And we are really pushing this quite strongly, that it's not just a Congress, but it's a family holiday as well. So before the Congress and after the Congress, there'll be opportunities for your family members to enjoy safaris, see Table Mountain, go to Cape Town, wine routes, etc., etc. But you can log on to that. And then the last thing that I want to share with you is a concept that we have now made live. So you can go to www.worldrhinoplastyday.org. And this is what this whole thing's about. So as SORSSA, we are going to coordinate the first virtual World Rhinoplasty Day on the 21st of November. What we're basically going to be doing is we're covering the entire world, starting in Japan, more or less at the middle of the day in Japan. And then we've divided it up into 22 different societies and regions. And this slowly works its way back all the way to California. And every hour, it's a different society that has the opportunity of being able to showcase their best. And we're going to be doing it almost like the Olympic Games. We are having some of the world's top journal editors as our judges and part of our scientific review committee. And we will then make sure that this is, the important thing is this is an educational opportunity. And we're going to be very strict in terms of the platform we work on. So there'll be $100 US to be able to log on for the whole day. And then we will also have this ability that you can go back and you can rewatch these things, because I think Toon is only one of the few guys who's actually going to watch 22 hours in a row, but we'll see. There might be some others. We're very excited about this, and we'll be getting CME points for it. So I want to just show you basically what the schedule is going to look like. So this is the provisional program. Each of these 22 societies and people have bought in onto this great concept, and we're very excited about it. So as things progress over the next couple of weeks to months, we'll be giving out more information, but you can already start contacting your local person if you are interested in wanting to present. Yeah, so that's the World Rhinoplasty Day. I'm going to stop sharing at that point and say, yeah, we're looking forward to seeing what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks.
Fantastic.
Stuart, I don't know if you want to add anything from your side.
No, I mean, I think they're very exciting opportunities, and looking forward to them.
Awesome. Well, guys, I think that brings us to the end of this. We just say thank you to everybody, and
thank you very much.
Be careful about going to do rhinoplasty that you're not capable of doing.
You deserve gold medals, guys. Yeah.
Vitaly, thank you very much, and Cam, congratulations. Been a great journey for the last 8 weeks. Well done.
Well, thanks, Cam. Thanks, Stuart.
Thank you.
And there's Amir.
Guys, I think we've got to give a shout out to Amir. Eh? Amir, you and Toon, the guys who've been here every time. Eh? Thank you very much for what you've done. Thank you to Brian Wong and his team from University of California, Irvine. You guys have been fantastic. Thank you for all the effort so many people have put in. Working on the CMEs, guys, everyone, well done, and thank you so much for your support.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you, Cam.
Cool. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night.